Hey guys, so let's talk about drinking alcohol and being...
This is teaching for women. So, drunkenness is an idiom. You're taking it in a very literal aspect because you don't understand his idioms. You have to rightly divide the word. You got to be a Berean. And drunkenness is defined in the Bible already. Isaiah 28, verse 1 through 3 tells you what drunkenness means, what the idiom is. Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine, overcome with pride. Behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, which as a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, shall cast down the earth with the hand, the crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim, which is America, the crown of pride. It's defined in the Bible. The crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim, shall be trodden under foot. Yeshua, the Messiah of the Bible, was called a wine-bibber and a glutton. You can see this in Matthew 11:19. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold, a man gluttonous and a wine-bibber, a friend of publicans and sinners, but wisdom is justified of her children. Luke chapter 7, verse 34 says the same thing. The Son of Man is come eating and drinking. And you say, Behold, a gluttonous man and a wine-bibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. Was not Yeshua perfect? Wasn't he that perfect lamb? Are you saying that he was a sinner because he came eating and drinking? His first miracle, he turned water into wine and gave it to the people after they're well drunk. Do you think that Yeshua would cause people to sin, or did he call all to repentance? Women are not to teach men. They can teach women and children, but you should not teach at all because you have not rightly divided the word. You have guile in your mouth. And you need to take your video down. Revelations 18 says to come out of her, my people. The churches. For 2 Thessalonians 2 tells you that there's going to be a falling away. Apostasy. Isaiah 28, the very same chapter I'm reading to you. There's no place clean in Ephraim, the land of the pride, the drunkards, America. Their pastors are brutish. They have not sought the Lord. The Jeremiah 23 pastors who scatter his flock, teaching traditions of men over the commandments of Jehovah. What Yeshua rebuked the Pharisees for. They added to the law their traditions of men, and they rebuked the people and his disciples for traditions of men, and they held them over the commandments of Jehovah. That's why he rebuked them, and he was so sharp with them, calling them whitewashed tombs.
Praise us, God.
What is sin? It's the transgression of the law. What is the law? It's Yeshua's first and second commandments, to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, which he quoted Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 through 25, which is to keep the commandments in your heart, teach them to your children, it will be your righteousness. It's the first commandment with promise in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 3, to honor your father and your mother. That's all Deuteronomy chapter 6. It expands on Jehovah's fifth commandments. It's what Yeshua was prophesied to refresh in Deuteronomy 18:15 through 19, that Jehovah would rise up a capital P prophet from amongst them, of thy brethren. The people were to hearken unto him. Jehovah would put his words in that prophet's mouth and send him in my name, he said, Jehovah, Yeshua, Jehovah salvation. And he was going to give them commandments in Matthew 22, which he did. And whoever didn't listen to that prophet and what he commanded, he was going to require of the people. His second commandment, to love your neighbor as thyself, he quoted Leviticus 19:15 through 18. To do no unrighteousness in judgment. Don't judge people by commandments of men. That's what you're doing. You're speaking commandments of men, guile over commandments of Jehovah, doing unrighteous judgments. Do only righteous judgment by Jehovah's righteousness, the 10 commandments, what Yeshua gave you, and that was defined in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Don't be respecters of persons or you commit sin. James chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. The royal law, which is to love your neighbor as thyself, but rebuke sin. Rebuke your neighbor when you see them sin, so they don't suffer sin upon them. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Verse 18 of Leviticus 19. 2 John chapter 1 says that Yeshua didn't give us new commandments, but ones from the beginning, and we are to walk in them. The church, the Jeremiah 23 pastors who are apostate, teach you burden of the Lord in Jeremiah 23, that his commandments are burdensome when it's the love of God. In 1 John chapter 5, for this is the love of God, to keep his commandments, and his commandments aren't grievous. And his grace is not unmerited favor. It's not Jude chapter 1 verse 4, the ungodly men, the Jeremiah 23 pastors who have crept in unaware, turning the grace of God into lasciviousness, which means unbridled lust, wantonness, shamelessness, the doctrine that you can come before the Lord shameless in your sin because you have undeserved favor. Not entering into his Sabbath, his rest, a perpetual covenant in Exodus 31 verse 16 through 18, his sign between him and his children, that he commands you to keep as he commanded in Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 12. Yeshua gave you his first and great commandment to keep the 10 commandments. And Hebrews 4 tells you the day did not change, for if not to take after those who didn't enter into his rest. And if Yeshua had given them rest, wouldn't he have spoken of another day? He never spoke of another day. And he's Lord of the Sabbath because he rose on the Sabbath. Daniel 9, end of chapter, he ended sacrifice midweek after he confirmed the covenant he was prophesied to refresh in Deuteronomy 18, his first and great commandment he gave you. And then he sees sacrifice midweek Wednesday. He gave the Pharisees the sign of Jonah, that he'd be in the earth 3 days and 3 nights. And when the Marys came to the tomb in Matthew 28, it was still dark at the end of Sabbath before the dawning of the first day of the week, because his Sabbath is dawn Saturday to dawn Sunday. The angel rebuked the Marys because he was already gone, like he said he was going to be. And if he wasn't that capital P prophet in Deuteronomy 18 end of chapter, we shouldn't fear him, because whatever he said in Jehovah's name, if it didn't come to pass, we should not fear him. He would have been a false prophet. Your pastors are Brutus. They lied to you, and they scatter his flock. Come out of her, my people, Revelations 18, and do not participate in her adulteries. They break literally all the commandments. They have gods over Jehovah. Jeremiah 10, Jeremiah 7, Christmas and Easter, how they worship the sun god towards the east in Ezekiel 8, on sun god day worship, where they put the image made onto the beast in Revelations 13, worshiping the false Messiah, the one who came in his own name that Yeshua warned you not to accept in John chapter 5 verse 43, Jesus Christ, into their hearts. For he's elevated himself to be the most high in 2 Thessalonians 2, the lawless one who's nailed his righteousness to the cross because he's told you his grace is unmerited favor rather than what it is. G5485, especially divine influence upon the heart, so you can keep those commandments.